to Here in LA, Beverly Grove edition. Today, we meet Paul Feinstein. You are in for a treat because Paul is a food and travel writer specializing in all things Italian. We'll get into great detail about his neighborhood in Beverly Grove, probably more detail than any neighborhood we've ever discussed here. We'll talk about his new book, Italy Cocktails. And yes, we'll discuss Negronis. And I think you'll be surprised where he ranks LA in his list of the best cities for pizza. So let's welcome Paul Feinstein. Hey everybody, I am here in Beverly Grove with Paul Feinstein.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, hold on. Hey. It's going great. Paul, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You have balanced on your femur a beautiful book about drinking.
That's right. It is a beautiful.
What's your book called?
My book is called Italy Cocktails, an elegant collection of over 100 recipes inspired by Italia.
When you write a book like, and who's your publisher?
HarperCollins.
So big time.
Big time.
Are they the biggest?
Them and Simon & Schuster, probably the two biggest.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, seriously.
Thank you.
To be published these days
It's
and not
easy.
be named Oprah.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
It's not an easy task.
And I would imagine a book about drinking has been done.
It has.
Somehow you found a niche and you got these nice people in New York City to buy into it. Not only did they buy into it, but I flipped through that book. It is gorgeous in
Thank
there.
you.
Every page is beautiful.
Thank you.
Color photography.
Thank you.
And the cover has this cutout that must have cost them a couple bucks.
Probably cost them a couple bucks. It's a beautiful die cut of the cover of an Italian glass. Yeah, it's for those in your audience who don't know, I am a food and travel writer. So I go all over the world and find interesting stories to write about. My bread and butter is sort of the intersection of food, history, and culture. So I find really interesting stories that hit that Venn diagram and I write about it. My specialties are Italy and Japan. I write for Travel and Leisure. I write for the BBC. I write big travel guidebooks. I write Fodor's travel guidebook to LA every 2 years.
What?
Yeah. So I've been doing this for a really, really long time. And in December, I got an email from a HarperCollins email address that said, "Hey, we've been reading a lot of your stuff that you've been writing about Italy, and we think you would be the perfect person to write a book about Italian cocktails." I looked around. I was like, "Is this spam? Is this a joke?" But it wasn't. And a year later, this book has arrived, and it's just been a wild, fun, incredible journey to get to this place and to have like the actual book sitting on my lap. It feels so good. I'm really proud of it. It looks beautiful.
I bet. And congratulations.
Thank you.
So from the email to today has been a year?
Yeah, basically. Well, I mean, almost. Yeah, it was December.
So did you have some of this material already written?
No. So I've been writing so much about Italy for so long that I had so many friends in the country who I could rely on and interview and put me in the right direction and find that, because in the book there's over 130 recipes for Italian cocktails, but there's also 40 profiles of, the best bars all over Italy, some around the world, and also the Italian liquor brands like Campari and Martini and Rossi and, Amaro Montenegro and Select Aperitivo. There's all these different brands that are in there as well. And I have the fortune of having worked in Italy for so long that it was really a phone call away with all of these people, which was really nice.
So 40 profiles, even if you did 2 a day, were you doing 2 a day?
Yeah, I would wake up so it was funny because I wrote this current year's Fodor's print guide. It had the same deadline. And so from 5 a.m. till noon, I was writing the Italian cocktail book. And then from noon till about 10 at night, I'd be going to restaurants and hotels and places around LA and writing about LA at the same time. So I basically wrote 2 books at the same time. But yeah.
Are you a married man?
I am. And I have a 2-year-old.
Who did you marry? What saint that allowed you to just work your butt off?
Yeah, look, I'm really good at predicting how long things take. And so I knew that I had to hit a certain amount of things every single day in order to hit my deadline for this book. And the other book. And so I really compartmentalized every part of my life where I could still be present at home, but I knew that working hours were working hours and it just had to be done that way.
But the baby doesn't know this.
No, he
Did the
didn't.
baby cooperate?
Yeah, he was fine. He sleeps. I got a kid who sleeps really well, so it helps quite a bit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you somebody who's never struggled with writer's block or
No, I
procrastination?
don't. I've never had writer's block. I have a procrastination problem.
Mm-hmm.
If what I'm writing isn't something that I know will take a lot of time, this I couldn't procrastinate. It was impossible. I knew I had to log hours and hours and hours and hours of both writing, but also interviews and some travel, and it just, I knew that deadline was going to hit real fast, and I couldn't do what I usually do, which is I'll write an article on the morning of. But the thing is, like, the way I procrastinate, I've been doing this for so long, is that I usually write that piece that I'm writing in the shower 3 or 4 times before I end up writing what's, somebody would consider a first draft. So I've written multiple drafts in my head in the shower every morning leading up to that point. So I don't, like, my first draft that I actually put on paper is usually very close to the last draft because I've already iterated it so many times in my head.
So there's no music going on.
Nah.
Let's recreate the situation.
Okay.
Do you have one of these great LA bathrooms with the green tile and all that in the shower?
No, it's white tile. It's not one of these like 70s apartments. No, I know those well. I've lived in those as well in my time in LA. But no, it's even though the building is from the 1920s, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Someone redid something at some point to like get rid of that like weird fuchsia color and
So you don't have any music going.
No.
Do you go into the shower knowing that you want to think about what you're writing?
I do if I know that deadline is looming. So if the deadline's looming, I will go in there and my brain will just sort of take over because without any distractions, it really helps my brain get clear. It's nice, yeah.
Where'd you learn how to write?
I studied it in school. I went to American University in DC.
Really?
Studied journalism and visual media and screenwriting. Can you learn how to write outside of college? Yeah, of course. You absolutely can. But college to me, it's more about forming your social education as much as it is your actual like trade craft. I think it's important for trade craft in a lot of ways. And look, some people just don't get lucky and have bad teachers, and some people have amazing mentors and get really lucky. And it's a crapshoot. You don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times you find what you really like and what are really good at in an environment that fosters that. Yeah, look, there's plenty of pros and cons, especially around the cost, because colleges are insanely expensive. But I don't know. For me, I just think it's really good to learn about how to deal with a lot of different environments, with a lot of different people that are not like-minded.
Yes.
And are coming from backgrounds and places that you've never been. And, I think about this a lot because I write a lot about different food cultures and the fusions of different foods that come together. And like cocktails the same way, like using different ingredients from different cultures to really make something new and different. And I think the more you do that, the more you bring people together as opposed to just like siloing off into, who you are and your people or whatever that may be. I'm a firm believer in cross-cultural pollination. And I think my school in particular was great because a third of the school was international. And so you really got a lot of new people in your life that you would never have otherwise met.
I know that there's one federal school there. Is it GW or is it you guys?
So it's us. We were formed by Congress. Like, they actually like created our school, the American University. Yeah. One funny quirk about the school is that when it was built, if you looked at the school, this goes back a while, obviously, but I think from an aerial view, like the way that certain buildings were built made it look like either the Capitol or the White House from above. So if like a plane was going on a bombing run, like they would try to hit American University thinking that it was like the Capitol or the White House. I don't remember which one it is, but some of the buildings were designed that way specifically as a decoy.
How crazy.
If we were ever attacked in an aerial attack. Before I went to school in DC, I did a program where I lived in Israel for a year.
Wow.
And it was just this wild, crazy year where I went to school for a semester in Jerusalem. I lived in a place called a development town for new immigrants where they taught language, and I taught English in a middle school. I got to do basic training on an Air Force base for 6 weeks. I got to farm on what's called a kibbutz for 6 weeks in the middle of the desert. And it was just this amazing year of just how you let an 18-year-old do something like this. But it was great. And so I went I came back to the States with that under my belt, and it really formed my thinking and informed my thinking.
Wait a second. Feinstein is Jewish?
Yeah, I know, right?
All
Crazy.
Right.
Who would have thought?
I think so these days they would call this like a gap year, right?
Yeah, they'd call it that term didn't exist then, but yeah, this is basically what it was.
Which it sounds like you highly recommend.
I couldn't recommend it more. I think going abroad is the best thing to do. I tell anyone who asks me about college, if they don't do a gap year, I say, no matter what, just take as many semesters abroad that you possibly can. And again, it goes back to the same theme of inclusiveness by meeting people that you don't know and aren't familiar with, and learning about new cultures and new people and new places. And it only makes you more tolerant of other people and cultures. Okay.
So another reason I'm fixated on your college time is I'm hoping you didn't acquire your love of drinking before college.
Oh, it was well before college.
Was it really?
So I am 5th generation Denver, Colorado. I go way back.
There's that many Jews in
Yeah, surprisingly.
Is there?
We were some of the first. First synagogue, Jews, that kind of thing. And my parents got divorced when I was 1, but my father, he and his business partner were gay nightclub pioneers. Yeah, you didn't see that coming, did you, Tony? Not
in Denver. In what are we talking? The 70s?
The late 70s. Yeah. So
wow.
So my dad's business partner, they weren't business partners yet, and neither are gay. That's besides the point.
Really?
My dad's business partner, I think he won a gay bar in a poker game, and the bar was packed. It was the only gay bar in the city, and so this is the late 70s. It was hard. It was a hard time to be gay, and. Not that it's never been a hard time, but it's
I'm dying with this story already.
So it was bursting at the seams, and so they bought a tire factory and converted it into the first gay nightclub in Denver.
What was it called?
It was called Tracks because it was right by the train tracks, worst part of town, and Tracks became the gay hub of Denver. But being around a nightclub, a lot. Really helped give me a bird's eye view of the world of drinking. And so it's not like I was drinking when I was 6 or something like that, but I definitely drank a lot in high school. I really, learned how to drink as a high school kid, not as a college kid. Most of the drugs I did was in high school, not in college. I really got a lot of that out of my system earlier.
Yeah.
But when I was in DC, so Tracks in Denver, then they opened one in DC. They opened one in New York. They opened one in Tampa. And so when I was in college, Trax was there. I worked at the club.
You did?
So I went and got my bartending license. I went to bartending school, and I worked at the club. And, I worked at a lot of places with being a bartender, both when I would come back to Denver in the summers, I worked as a bartender. And
are you a straight man?
I am, yeah.
I ask this because I live very close to the gay bar here on Fountain.
Akbar.
Yeah. And a lot of the bartenders don't have their shirts on.
Yeah.
Were you the same as a bartender at Trax?
No. I never took my shirt. Look, you can't, you're next to some of these guys, these guys are just as ripped and it's when I was 20 years old and I'm 6 foot right now, and I'm 6'3", I was probably 6'1" or 6'2" back then. And maybe weighed 120 pounds, wet. So there's no way, there was no world where the other gays at the bar wanted to see me with my shirt off. There was no world where that existed.
Your story is just better. This is why I don't need research.
No, it's great.
We just need a conversation. And you never know what's going to come out. Who are better tippers, the gays or the ladies on bachelorette nights?
Oh, I don't know. Probably equal. Both
really?
Great. Yeah, both pretty great.
Good.
I worked at one of the other bars that my family owned in Denver was a skinhead bar. Not by choice. It just sort of it was like a Roadhouse kind of bar, and I worked that one too. Thank God they didn't know I was Jewish. But those guys are the worst tippers. Shockingly, are the worst tippers.
Fascists are bad tippers.
Bad tippers. Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, the skinheads did not tip well.
Okay, since we're talking about Beverly Grove.
Yes.
And we're talking about booze.
Yes.
Which I've got nothing against booze. It just makes me kiss the wrong people.
Oh, it's okay.
Right? Who, by the way, sometimes are pretty good kissers.
Yeah.
And you're like,
You never know.
how about that? Yeah. Tell me a good bar.
Let's see, Beverly Grove, a good bar. There's a new one and an old one. So El Carmen is my favorite bar on that stretch of West 3rd Street.
Okay.
It's a luchador-themed Mexican restaurant and bar. They've been there forever. They've got an amazing happy hour. It's an incredible first date spot. Mm-hmm. It's just like dark and moody, but fun. And there's, I don't know, it's just like
is this on that stretch where Jones and Toast is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
great.
It's
So when you say lucho, you mean like Mexican wrestler
yeah,
style?
So there's like Mexican wrestler paintings and stuff all over the walls.
I like that.
And it's just it's just awesome. It's like we lost a great bar called St. Nick's, which is this dive bar that was amazing, and it's now a Toca Madero, which is like a fancier Mexican spot.
And St. Nick's, this was over by the Beverly Center,
closer to the Beverly Center. Mm-hmm. And it was really my favorite bar on that street, like many nights.
Because
you want to talk about a heavy pour? Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But also it had no airs. It was the local bar.
It was the local bar, and they just like all the bartenders were these like Mexican guys who loved to pour big drinks, and it was like they didn't hire the hot actress to like pour drinks. No, they were like these guys were working, and they were great. And this place was a dump, and it was the best.
Yeah.
And like I had so many fun nights at St. Nick's, like so many fun nights. So I really like them a lot. And then the new one I really like is on Beverly and Crescent Heights. It's a place called Marvin. It's a French place, but they just have amazing wine, like just an incredible wine selection, really fun happy hour, good vibes, indoor and outdoor. I love that spot. And then
so you know your wines too?
Yeah, I don't know if I know them, but I love to drink. I like drinking wine, I think, more than cocktails, to be honest. Yeah, because
of the subtleties and
I think
the care.
The way a really knowledgeable sommelier pairs wine with food, if they're really good at it, the two things go together. Like it's symphonic to me, it's poetic to me. It enhances both equally. And cocktails, it's harder to do that. There are bartenders who are trying. There's some really advanced stuff out there that's really interesting, but for the most part, like wine with food, specifically dinner, if it's done right, it's so beautiful.
Okay, when it's done right, can a schlub like me figure it out that this is better than if I just chosen a random wine to go with my steak or my fish?
Look, I would say you'd probably be able to tell if it was wrong. Mm-hmm. More than you'd be able to tell like this, because like within the margins, there's maybe a margin of error, 10, 20%, whatever, like if it's done really well versus just kind of well, but you'll know if the two flavors don't work. You'd be like, oh God. It's almost like when you eat like right after brushing your teeth. And it just like ruins whatever that thing is that you put in your mouth.
I love West 3rd. I think it's perfectly fine in that you know what you're getting involved in. It's a little fancier. Faux nuts wouldn't exist anywhere else, right? And this is a place for brunch. This is it's also, I think, very female friendly.
A lot of boutiques.
Yeah. I think that 3rd Street is perfect for people.
So the reason I really love this neighborhood is that I love to walk. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the best walking streets in the entire city. So from one end to the other, you have the Beverly Center on one end, you've got the Grove on the other end, you have a dozen restaurants, both high end and low, you've got half a dozen bars. You've got tons of shops. Everything I do is on West 3rd Street. I mean, and I walk to all of it, and it's great. I just think that it's so hard to find good walking streets in our city, and that stretch between those bookends, you can find literally anything you could possibly want or need.
I would say even Plancho's Tacos.
Yeah, Plancho's is right by where I live, and like that's what I mean. Like there's the Little Door, which is this super fancy French restaurant, and then there's right next door to it basically is Plancha's, and also Slab, the barbecue spot, and then you go to...
Wait, I don't know about Slab.
Oh, Slab.
I love barbecue.
Well, Slab is great. They do a really good brisket. One of my favorite mac and cheeses in the city is from Slab. Really good collard greens. Yeah, Slab. I'm a big fan of Slab.
Are these black people running this place?
No, it's an Israeli guy, actually.
You Jews, I'm telling you, man. Okay, fine. I'll try it.
Burt Backman. He's I think
you even know the guy's name.
Yeah, we're pals. He's great. He's at every food festival. He's really gone all over the country to really like hone his own version of barbecue, and yeah, it's great.
Are you a fan of the farmers market?
I am. Yeah.
Where should I be drinking at that bar over there? Do they have more than one?
Yeah, there's a bunch of places now that are in there, and the names are escaping me.
Because they're new, right?
No, not necessarily. There's the one in the middle, has been around for a while. There's a decent happy hour there. There's one on like the Fairfax side.
Yep.
That's next to... so there's a pizza place that moved in there called Friends and Family, which is really good, although it's way too expensive. But they do natural yeast, so they use like a starter to make their pizza, and it's awesome. The pizza's like the flavor of the dough is incredible.
So like a $20 pizza is what you're saying?
It's more. It's stupid. It's actually offensive how expensive it is. But every once in a while, I just want that tangy crust, and because it's like sourdough crust basically. It's so good.
And it doesn't sound like they do slices.
No, they do, and that's the worst part. You should order a pizza because the slices are like $7, and it's so stupid. And a pizza, you can get like 3 slices, or you can get a whole, you can get a whole pie.
Right.
Like it's dumb, but it's great. And then next door to that, there's a bar right there, and so they do.
Is that bar the one that they would have karaoke back in the day?
I don't know.
It's across. I think what we were talking about is across from the Creole place.
It's literally across from the Creole place. It's right behind Dupar's.
Yes,
it's over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they used to have karaoke there. I love the farmers market.
I love the farmers
even
market.
Though, like, talk about gentrification. Like that thing is just.
Yeah, but you still have like Patsy D'Amore's, which opened in like the 1950s for pizza, and there's like the donut place there. It's been open for 75 years.
Hasn't changed the sign.
No, like and stuff.
Cheap Chinese food on your way out.
There's still some classics that are in there that give LA its character. I don't know. Can I tell you the weirdest or the worst place on West 3rd Street?
Sure.
So I get a piece of mail a few days ago, and it's like one of those like city ordinance, like come to the meeting for X, Y, and Z pieces of mail.
Yeah.
And I open it up and I'm like, oh, it's for Barry's Pizza. So Barry's Pizza, BERRI''S. There's a few locations around the city, but the one on West 3rd Street is like the post club hangout.
Okay.
So from 2 to 4, it is like the scene. They put out like a velvet rope, the whole thing. But there has been murders. There has been fights. There has been so like this piece of mail that I got is like the city like talking about like to try and get Barry's. I don't know if they're trying to change their hours or if they're just trying to kick them out completely. But the laundry list of violations was maybe 24 deep of all of these incidents over the years. There was a murder there like a couple months ago. I couldn't walk on the street. Yeah, it's from 2 to 4 a.m. It is the worst place to be, and it's right there on West 3rd. So as bougie as West 3rd is, from 2 to 4, it is a post-club, drunken, crazy, violent thing that happens.
So if I was really interested in ratings, I would just post up over there and just film the nonsense happening.
It's crazy.
On 3rd and Crescent Heights.
Yes.
There used to be like a hot tub place. Do you remember that place?
So it's so funny. So that hot tub place used to be on like Blind Date and all those like dumb dating shows. And there was in those hot tubs.
Third Wheel.
Oh, those hot tubs must have been so gross.
The worst.
I forget the name of the place, but yeah. So now,
like Bubbles or something.
yeah,
stupid.
something stupid. It was, but
and kitty corner to Paul Frank was over there.
Yeah, and
I
so
don't know if he's still
now it was so during the pandemic it was a Chinese food restaurant that was actually pretty good. But they went out of business, and now there's some new cafe going in there on that corner.
Speaking of Chinese,
the staple Chinese place in Beverly Grove is Mandaret.
I don't know this one.
So Mandaret's been around for 40 years probably. Mm-hmm. It's on the corner of Orlando and Beverly. Okay. And I think I had my goofiest celebrity sighting was at Mandaret. I look over and I was like, is that Bette Midler? It was Bette Midler with Bruce Valanche. Do you know who Bruce Valanche is?
Yes.
Yeah. So there was
Oscar joke writer?
There's just the two of them eating dinner by themselves at Mandaret. No fanfare. Just, it was great. Great.
Did Bette look like Bette?
Yeah. Bette looked like Bette, and Bruce looked like Bruce.
Okay. By the way, thank you for coming here.
You're so welcome.
Thank you for reaching out. You are such an expert. And as you can tell, it's fun to talk to experts about their neighborhoods.
I love my neighborhood.
Okay. Do you know about Liberace's old apartment building?
No.
Pan Pacific Park.
Okay.
So kitty corner to that, there's a 4-story brick building. Not a beautiful building at all. Northeast kitty corner was where Liberace apparently lived.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like this was, I think this was just his like fun little.
That was his like place in the city.
His like little playpen place. Like he probably had a mansion somewhere in the hills.
Pretty sure he did.
But this was like just his fun spot.
That's funny.
Okay, so this book.
Yes.
Obviously, you're going to sell it in bookstores.
Yes.
Will it also be sold at liquor stores or
no
wine clubs? Like where do you? Is it Amazon? Is the place now?
So the book is available on Amazon, of course. Mm-hmm. Walmart, Target.
Walmart?
Yeah, Walmart sells it. Barnes & Noble sells it.
You're going to be rich.
Yeah, well, hopefully. We'll see.
Because we know that the people at Walmart care about their Italian
They
booze.
do. They like it. I mean, everyone loves a Negroni. Yeah, it'll be in every major every major store. It'll be in bookstores, obviously, and then, online.
This is why I ask. After I'm done with Pan Pacific,
yes,
I'm heading to Erewhon.
Okay.
I would think this would be perfect at Erewhon.
You think so?
Well, this does not look like a cheap situation.
It's
How
not.
much is this book going for?
It's
like $25?
No, it's $22.99 on the back. $23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't you think that the Venn diagram of people who would enjoy that might also be an Erewhon shopper?
Or Whole Foods, which is also Beverly Grove.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Poor area over there.
Okay.
It's going through a change right now.
It's going through some changes.
One of the changes is the city bank.
Yes.
Used to have a clock.
It used to have a clock.
How hard is it for a bank to have a clock? And I know we have clocks everywhere and on our Teslas and our watches, whatever.
Yeah, it was sort of a sad renovation.
Wasn't it nice to have a clock there?
Yeah, it was kind of like a nice clock, and it was kind of like a nice old building, and they renovated it, and it's like, why did you bother? Because it's just still a bank. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, the bank clocks, it's not about the time, it's the temp.
That's right.
Because if it's 100 degrees, I want to prove it somehow.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to Instagram it.
I love the bank clock with the temp. Yeah, I do love the temp.
So they took that away.
They took it away.
They also took away the Kmart, which did not fit in this neighborhood.
You don't think Kmart and Whole Foods go side by side with it? And then there's a Ross as well that's no longer there, I think.
The Ross...
Ross and Kmart go together, but Ross
and Kmart go together. But isn't there another Ross?
Yeah, in the Beverly Connection.
But what's across the street though? Isn't that another? That's Marshall's.
Yeah, Marshall's. Also at the Beverly Connection. I think there's a Ross and a Marshall's both at the Beverly Connection.
Why do I feel like there's another discount store west?
Well, I thought that was a Ross. Is that not Ross?
But we said there was a Ross next to the Kmart. So there was two Rosses? I
think there might have been two Rosses.
That's a lot of Rosses.
That's a lot of Rosses. Well, West Third wasn't always so bougie. You remember, they took all of it out, but there was that whole little strip center next to Whole Foods, between Whole Foods and Kmart, that had a wig store and an Italian restaurant, and there was a bunch of random shit that's been there for That was probably there for 40 years. That
Like a little key stand?
Yeah, the key stand's still there though. So you
thank
you
God.
still get your keys.
What's your over under number of days of that one?
Not good. It's not a lot. Like the second whatever. I don't know what's being built there though.
Yeah. I feel like the last thing that was at that area was the Britney Spears experience.
Yeah, and then something shut it down, and I'm not sure what
I think
it was.
COVID shut it down.
No, it was something else. There was like an incident or something that shut it down.
Was it the Free Britney movement?
No, there was. I don't remember. There was something that happened though that shut it down because it didn't last very long.
This is probably the first episode where we actually really get in depth about the neighborhood.
Yeah, good.
It is good.
The neighborhood's great.
Can you please teach me about Negronis?
Yes. What do you want to know?
Well, I think there's a TikTok meme going on about Negronis going around.
Okay, so you may be confusing the Negroni with the Negroni Sbagliato, and so we'll get to both. Okay, so the Negroni, it was invented in 1919 in Florence, Italy. Basically, there was a guy who would go to this cafe. It was called Cafe Cassoni in Florence, Italy in 1919. And he would order a drink called an Americano, which was it's a drink that's made with vermouth, sweet vermouth, Campari, and soda water. And the guy's name was Count Negroni, literally his name. And he thought his drink was too weak. And so he asked the bartender to make it stronger. The bartender replaced the soda water with gin, and he added an orange wheel, and then the Negroni, and he named it after the guy, and he named it Negroni. So that's the Negroni, and it's the easiest drink in the world to make because it's equal parts 1 ounce Campari, 1 ounce sweet vermouth, and 1 ounce of gin. And so, go ahead.
1 ounce, that's a shot glass shot?
Yeah, basically a shot glass. And so, or a four count pour, basically with if you like turn a bottle over with that has a pour on it, like whatever those, I guess they're just called a pour. If you count to 4, that's 1 ounce. Yeah, that's how they do it at the bar.
Because at some bars you don't want to go into the shot glass?
Today they'll use what's called a jigger. It's actually a jigger is actually a measuring device that's been used for over 100 years, but it's become more like fashionable to use it again. And a jigger has 2 sides of it. It sort of looks like an hourglass. And so one side will be 1 ounce and the other side will be a half ounce, but it'll vary from that. So you can use a jigger to get an exact pour, or you can just do a count,
What do you prefer?
I prefer the jigger but if I was bartending at a bar, I would just do the count because it's way faster. The jigger is just more accurate.
Okay.
So the Negroni is an equal measurement drink. So it's super easy to make. You just put it over ice. You stir it right in the glass. You don't need any bells or whistles. So now the Negroni Sbagliato became famous because of Emma Darcy, who is on the Game of Thrones sequel. And Emma Darcy,
the House of the Dragons or something?
Yeah, and so Emma Darcy became famous because Emma is a they, just FYI.
Oh.
So Emma did an interview where someone asked them what their favorite drink was, and Emma said a Negroni Sbagliato, but with Prosecco in it.
Gotta do it now. Yeah. What's your drink of choice?
A Negroni.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Sbagliato. With Prosecco in it.
Oh, stunning.
Yeah.
And it's an oxymoron because a Negroni Sbagliato is made with Prosecco. So it would be like saying a Negroni with Prosecco. So that's what made Emma, that was the meme that was going around. So a Negroni Sbagliato is a Negroni where they replace the gin with Prosecco. And for those of you who don't know, Prosecco is basically just champagne. It's sparkling wine that's made in Italy. So that is a Negroni Sbagliato. The word Sbagliato means mistake or mistaken. And the bartender who created the drink was a man in Milan at a place called Bar Basso. And that it was created like in the 50s or 60s, sort of like the post-World War II Renaissance of Italy. And he noticed that there was all these women coming to the bar and ordering low ABV, low alcohol by volume drinks. And so he was a bit of a sexist, and so he just created this drink and called it a mistake because it wasn't a real Negroni, but that's what he would serve to women.
First of all, I'm blown away by your knowledge.
Thanks, man.
Very impressed. In this book, how many pages in this beautiful book?
The book is 415 pages.
But it doesn't look that big. I mean, it looks manageable. But I guess people aren't really reading this from cover to cover, right? Is this more of a reference?
Yeah, it depends. So the way I wrote the book was the first part of the book is the history of Italian cocktails. So ancient Rome is where you could argue that the first cocktails were being drunk. They were basically adding, honey or mead to wine and mixing it before they would go to dinner because it would sort of it would get their gastric juices flowing to like stimulate their appetite. So that's what a Negroni is for. A Negroni is actually a pre-dinner drink to actually stimulate your appetite.
So these Romans figured this out somehow? They got lucky?
I mean, I don't know. It was a 1,000-year reign, so within that time, they did a lot of experimentation.
I'm impressed by that.
Yeah.
You know how there's another meme, like how often you think about the Roman civilization?
Roman, yeah.
And it's like, I also think about the Native Americans, because I'm like, how did the Native Americans figure this out? I think that's kind of refined taste. Like, sure, we can eat the cow in a minute, but I want to enjoy it.
Well, look, when you have a 1,000-year empire, which is the Roman Empire is from 500 BC to 500 AD, and I almost never think about the Roman Empire with the exception of within the context of my book, but within a 1,000-year period, you have a lot of innovation, and so cocktails is just one of them, and so then. Cocktailing from there, if you go back, there was a place called the University of Salerno in Italy where they were really experimenting with medicinal-based drinks. And so they were always, there was botanicals with alcohol to like cure everything. But there was like real study going on about like what different botanicals and different alcohols would do to your body and how it could help headaches or stomach aches or whatever. And so they really started refining like drinks that you would have before dinner to stimulate your appetite versus drinks you would have after dinner to sort of help you digest. And so before dinner is in Italy today, it's called aperitivo. It's a time period that you go and you drink and you eat some salty snacks, and it really is supposed to get your night started and stimulate your appetite.
Do you agree with this theory?
There's not a lot of scientific basis behind it. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. On the aperitivo side, yes, there is some science that helps, that can prove that like eating salty snacks and having some kind of liquor or liqueur can actually, it's sort of like between your head and your gut, get you ready to eat. It's sort of like your stomach actually will start excreting juices that will make you feel hungry, and your head will react to that and then will make you want to go eat.
So when you say salty, so when I order an appetizer, I'm usually getting bread. Like that doesn't seem to.
So aperitivo and appetizer are two separate things. Right. So aperitivo is just a time period. That's just what it's called. Yeah. Where salty snacks are more like olives or some potato chips or some pretzels, that kind of thing.
So nibble on a couple of those.
To like get your saliva going, get your juices flowing in your stomach. Like that's what it's for.
Okay.
And yeah, like you're not supposed to fill up on bread. You gotta like the one thing you learn as a food writer is portion control, and that's the biggest thing you gotta do.
So you also mentioned afterwards for digestion.
Yeah,
What's a good drink that I should have at the end of my meal?
So like an Amaro, just on ice.
Don't know what that is.
So an Amaro it's a category of alcohol, of liqueurs where there's anywhere from 40 to 60 different botanicals that come together to make this beautiful thing. And there's an Amaro in every region of Italy that different people make in different ways, and this, the recipes are always a big secret, and it's just this wonderful thing that's supposed to help you digest your food.
Amaros.
Amaro, yeah.
Okay.
Or Amari, which is plural of Amaro.
What's your favorite drink in the book?
So my favorite drink in the book is actually a place in Los Angeles. Yeah.
You're not just saying that.
I'm not just saying that. So it's the very last recipe in the entire book.
Okay.
It's called An Imaginary Friend. If you've ever eaten at the Mexican restaurant Damian downtown.
Don't think I have.
So it is It's modern Mexican. It's one of the best restaurants I've ever eaten at. But I'm looking at the menu and I'm looking at the drinks and I'm like, what is this imaginary friend? Because it has Carpano Bianco, which is it's a dry vermouth that is from Italy. Carpano is they're credited with creating vermouth. And so I was like, so my argument is that any cocktail that uses an Italian ingredient can be considered an Italian cocktail. So like the martini, which even though it sounds like it's an Italian name, no one actually knows the origin. The origin is not Italy. Oh. But a martini is gin and vermouth or vodka and vermouth, and you can't have vermouth without Italy because that's where it was invented. So I'm looking at this menu, and we got Yola Mezcal, Carpano Bianco, Dolin Blanc vermouth, which is a French vermouth, and Gentian liqueur, which is it's French and it has sort of like herbal and citrus notes, and it's this beautiful, clear, little bit smoky with a hint of citrus, and it was like this unbelievable drink. And I called them afterward and I said, hey, this is of all the drinks I've been tasting for the last however long doing the research for this book, this was my favorite cocktail, and I want to put it in the book. And they were thrilled, and so yeah, so it's the last. And I'm just thrilled that it's part of LA. So it's
downtown LA is where we need to go for this.
You need to go for that, but there's also two other. Actually, there's three.
I don't mind going downtown LA because that's where my Clippers are.
Yeah, there's three other LA bars that are in the book.
Oh,
yeah. So in
this Italian book.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of Italian bars in LA that you may not be aware of. Well,
this is from one of our earliest episodes. We talked about how there's not a lot of Italian people in general. There's not a lot of Italian restaurants.
Okay, first of all, that's completely wrong.
What?
Completely wrong. So let me give you a little bit of
Please do.
Italian history. So there used to be a Little Italy downtown, by the way.
Where?
So close to where Union Station is.
Okay.
There used to be a whole Little Italy in downtown LA. There are hundreds of Italian restaurants in Los Angeles, first and foremost.
Okay. Good ones, though?
So, LA has gone through a bit of an Italian renaissance in the last 15 years. 15 years ago, you could pretty much only get like red sauce Italian places. Finding like regional Italian places was a little bit harder.
Are you giving credit to John and Vinny?
No, I give no credit to John and Vinny. I'll give a lot of credit to Nancy Silverton.
There you go.
She gets a lot of credit for like revolutionizing pizza in Los Angeles.
Yes, she does.
In the last 15 years, LA's Italian food scene has become more regional. And what I mean by that is that it's a lot less Italian American, like spaghetti and meatballs, and it's more like celebrating specific areas of Italy. So downtown, there's Rosa Blu, which is an Emilia-Romagna regional restaurant. There's all of Evan Funky's restaurants, Felix, Mother Wolf, Funky. They're all celebration of Rome specifically.
Mother Wolf is actually good food?
Yeah, he's a very good chef.
It's just not trendy, hard to get into bar to meet fancy people.
It's that as well.
Okay.
but
it's good food once you're there.
Yeah, and so there's been a pizza revolution, there's been a pasta revolution.
There has been a pizza revolution,
hasn't
there?
It's pretty insane.
But I guess I never considered that like Italian.
Well, pizza's Italian.
I know, but
it was invented in Italy.
I know, but there's a robot making pizza now at USC.
All right, but you have to say what kind of pizza we're talking about because there's different styles, there's different types. There's Neapolitan, there's Roman, there's Sicilian. There's Detroit, there's Chicago. There's all these different styles, and there's New York. And
I also thought the Italians didn't want to take credit for the pizza.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to. So, like, if someone's from Naples, yeah, they want to take credit for pizza because Naples is where pizza was born in the 1800s. Like, that's what it's from. Now, you could argue about what is authentic pizza, considering that tomatoes are from Peru, flatbreads are from Egypt, buffalo mozzarella is from India, and
anchovies.
No, anchovies are Mediterranean. You can get
pineapples.
Pineapples are not.
Have you ever seen pineapples on pizza in Italy?
No.
They throw it right out.
No, but it's just not a thing.
Have you seen the Italian TikToker guy whose wife is American?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
and on purpose, she does.
Yeah, and he's
nutty
horrified
things.
by it. Yeah, it's very fun.
A little bit more. Sara, ma tu sei pazza?
What?
Sara, tu. It's enough. We don't have to eat this shit pasta so short.
What do you mean?
This is not spaghetti, my love. Come on.
It doesn't fit in the
Why
pan.
don't you understand me? No, you can't cut the pasta so.
But I was just
It just didn't fit in the pan.
I don't go in the pan, my love. You cut the pasta. You know that is illegal in Italy.
As an Italian expert,
Yes.
are they exaggerating, or would most Italians respond that way?
Yeah, look, I mean, anything you're going to see on TikTok is going to be for entertainment value. So, like, they're probably exaggerating a little bit. But, yeah, I think the average Italian would probably be a little bit mortified by the whole thing. A little bit.
Okay, so is LA as good, or if not better, for pizza, for example, than New York?
I think LA is the best pizza city in the country by far.
Look at you.
Yeah.
And of the pizzas, what's your top two?
It depends on the style, so I can't just give you a top two. I will give you a little bit extra.
You are such an expert.
Yeah. So just straight Neapolitan, like classic Neapolitan, where it's droopy in the middle and it flops over, is L'Antica Pizzeria da Michele in Hollywood. Really.
La who again?
So L apostrophe Antica, so L'Antica.
Okay.
Pizzeria da Michele. It looks like Michelle, but it's pronounced Michele.
Hollywood where?
Just between Sunset and Hollywood, I believe. On what starts with an M? What's that street right there? McCarthy.
So over by the Hollywood High?
Yeah, close to there. Yeah, pretty close to there. So that place is actually from Naples. Like, it's one of the OG Naples pizzerias, and they licensed the recipe to this wonderful gentleman named Francesco Zimone, and he built that pizzeria here in Los Angeles.
This isn't the one on Hollywood with the Sinatra mural on the side.
No, that's Michelli's.
Michelli's,
Yeah.
right. Which, is that any good?
Yeah, it's a red sauce Italian place.
Okay.
The waiters sing. It's fun.
Just normal.
It's fine. It's just, it's not my favorite, but it's fine. Yeah, it's totally serviceable.
Okay, so your second one.
So that's just for Neapolitan. So Pizzana, there are now multiple locations, but the original Pizzana is in Brentwood, is a guy who's from Caserta. His name is Daniele Uditi. Caserta is just outside of Naples, and he did his own version of Neapolitan so that the pizza doesn't flop over, but it's incredible.
You put a little starch in the...
No, he
figured it out.
He's just a genius. And and then an offshoot of that is Tokyo style pizza, which is like another Neapolitan style, but they do some different things with the crust. And there's a place called Pizzeria Say on Pico and Robertson that is phenomenal. So those right now are in that area, those are my favorites.
So the Jews again.
Yeah, but he's not Jewish.
But I'm saying the Jews lucked out.
They did. They lucked
this
out.
one.
So Chicago style, I like a place called Blackbird. It's on Melrose.
What?
Yeah, it's really good.
You're telling a Chicagoan about Chicago pizza?
Do you not know about Blackbird?
I do not.
You know about masa?
I love masa.
Yeah, so I think it's better than masa.
I love to hear this. I mean, no disrespect to our good friends at masa.
Masa's great, but I think Blackbird's better. Yeah,
And you say that's on Melrose.
it's on Melrose.
I am so blessed to have you here today.
Yeah. For Sicilian, I like Prime. They do a Sicilian slice that's phenomenal.
Okay, your knowledge. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, he has no notes going on. You may have heard his phone isn't even working in this apartment. Your knowledge is phenomenal.
New York slice.
Hold on a sec. I'm giving you love here.
Thank you.
Do you have this for a lot of other things? Like, are you this good about basketball?
Yeah, I'm pretty good about basketball.
Did you always do well in school?
Yeah, I did all right. Yeah, I did pretty well.
You say you have a brother.
I have an older brother.
Does he have this kind of mind?
Yeah, but not for food. He couldn't care less about food.
How do you attribute this?
I don't know.
You know the chef's name, where it's at. You know the address. You know how to spell the friggin' thing.
Yeah, but this is what I do.
You're from Colorado, of all places.
This is what I do for a living. This is my job. So, like,
trust me, there's a lot of people who do crappy ass jobs.
Yes, there's no question. But look, I don't know. Sometimes it's fun for me to just like go down rabbit holes and get into the weeds and meet these chefs and like become friends with them and write about them and celebrate them. And like I love LA and I love all of the experimentation that goes on here, and I celebrate it, but I want to do it right. Like, I went to cooking school to become a better food writer, not to become. I mean, I like to cook. Don't get me wrong. I love it, and I make food at home all the time. But like, I did that so I could talk to these people in a way that is more meaningful.
Krista Simmons. Do you know Krista at all?
I do know from Sunset Magazine. She's great. Yeah.
I think she did the same thing. I think she became a chef because she wanted to be a good journalist like
I'm
you.
pals with Krista. She's great. Yeah.
Now that she's got that cool job, has she hired you for anything yet?
No, they don't do a lot of freelance work, so I don't.
That's too bad.
But like her and her boss, I'm friends with both. So Hugh Garvey over at Sunset.
Speaking of experimentation,
Yes.
On Sunset in Silver Lake, there is Pizza Palace.
Yes.
Where this young Italian guy.
Nope.
I'm a young Indian guy.
Yep.
Instant fact check.
Yeah.
I Ubered him.
Yeah.
Because I'm an Uber driver on the side.
Okay.
And he was going there in the middle of the day with like a 12-pack of beers.
Yeah.
And red flag. Like, who brings beer to a restaurant? The owner does.
The owner does.
And I go, oh my God, I've seen this on TikTok. He's like, I'm the owner. I was like, oh, because he was young, this guy.
He was young.
This is his first restaurant ever. And he's combining Indian flavors with pizza on one of his Indian pizza.
Have you
tried it?
So yes, I've been twice. Pizza Palace is a Indian, Italian fusion sports bar.
Right.
So
that was hard to get into.
it still is. I personally don't think the pizzas are very good because they call it bar pizza, and the bar pizza that they do. So bar pizza is supposed to be crispy, and the way they get it crispy is they're burning the pizza, and you shouldn't eat that. It's carcinogenic. It's actually not good for you.
Really?
Now,
Don't eat your burnt stuff.
Don't eat burnt
Even
stuff.
if you scrape off the black part?
You should definitely scrape it off. You should 100% scrape it off. That's carcinogenic.
The black part's the bad part.
Not great for you. So there's a fine line between blistering your crust and charring it, and the char is not necessarily good for you. So the pastas, on the other hand, with Indian sauces, I think are a revelation. I think
Really?
they are so good. I think about them quite a bit. He made his own pasta die. So for those of you who don't know in the audience, a pasta die is what they use to extrude pasta through a machine. So the die itself has a shape. So when you ever see like a noodle with a hole through the middle of it, it's called a bucatini. That is pushed through a machine that has a die that is able to, because you can't do that by hand. So he has dies that he had made in Italy. One of them is a rickshaw. So he has like rickshaw shaped pastas that they make in-house because he created a rickshaw die. It's so cool. And I think that their pastas are phenomenal, and the sauces that go with them are just this revelatory mix. And what I love about Pizza Palace is it's what I love about food and bringing cultures and people together, to really go full circle on this conversation, is that it's a celebration of these two cultures coming together in a way that no one really had thought to do before, and it's phenomenal.
Which, okay, there's 1 billion Indians,
Yeah.
and there's
Millions and millions of
Italians who've been around forever, experimenting.
Yeah.
Nobody thought about
Maybe
this.
someone did, but not in the version that he's doing over at Pizza.
And he comes to Silver Lake, and he's like, well, let's try it here. And I think it's a sports bar. This is my theory. My trip with him was very short. Because I think he was like giving himself a chicken exit. Like, are they really going to come for the food? So let's put a bunch of TVs up there.
I just think he's like a hipster. I like him. He's been nothing but nice to me, and I was very honest with him about the pizza, and he asked me to come back to try it again because they definitely were better the second time. But I still think the pastas are the things to eat there.
It would be crazy for me not to ask you about Jonathan Gold.
Okay.
About this. The LA Times, and I imagine lots of other restaurants, used to have this thing where the critics would try to remain anonymous, and they would have to go multiple times before they felt comfortable writing a review.
Yeah.
I think those days are over.
Well, Bill Addison is the LA Times critic, and he is as anonymous as it gets.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So I've had lunch with him before, and after the lunch, it was like really nice. Like it was a mutual friend's house, and I said, "I'll see you around," and he's like, "No, you won't." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I don't go to the things that you go to. Like, I don't go to these like dinners and things." And he's like, "I can't." I was like, "Okay, I respect that." So
He wants to keep it on the down low.
He's you'd be really hard pressed to find someone who could pick him out of a lineup. Yeah.
Because that was the other thing about poor Jonathan.
Oh no, he's very recognizable.
The most recognizable.
But Jonathan did something that I really appreciate, and I try to also emulate. Is that if I don't have anything good to say about a place, I write nothing. I only want to help a business. I don't want to put somebody out of business.
Right.
There are plenty of people who deserve that. I get it. They're assholes or they're whatever. They're shameless, whatever. It's not my business. My business is to try to elevate people's places and tell people where to go and why, not where not to go and why not. I just don't. It's bad karma. I don't care for it. I don't want to do it. And that was sort of what Jonathan Gold, like he celebrated the city in a way that the city needed. He was a cheerleader, but he also knew what he was talking about. He really knew his food. And I try to, I'm by no means on his level of knowledge for food, but like that's what I try to aspire towards that.
My deeper question is the 3 visits situation.
Yeah.
Do you buy into that? That you should go a couple times before you review it?
Yeah. Look, it's really hard to do that. If you really want to do it right, yes, you should. Service could have been a disaster that night. Someone could have broken up with their boyfriend. There could have been a shortage of certain ingredients. There's a million things that can go wrong in a restaurant on any given night. So one visit, that snapshot, yeah, could they have gotten it perfect that night that you were there? Yeah, maybe. But even that may not be a good representation of who they really are. Because like the best that they are, the worst that they are, and somewhere in the middle, well, that somewhere in the middle is probably who they really are. So yeah, if you really want to be a great critic, you definitely need to go more than once.
They used to say that the reason that the pizza was better in New York is because of the water.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
I love that.
It's complete bullshit. So I've talked to so many like bread makers about this topic, and pizza makers are basically bread makers, at their heart, at their soul. And if you know what you're doing, you just modify your recipe. Okay, if there's more humidity in the air, there's more iron in the water, there's fluoride, there's not, you can filter it out, you could do whatever you want. Look, Larry King has a bagel place in Beverly Hills where he claims they fly in the water. Well, you know what? His bagels suck. All right? So those bagels are trash bagels. Okay?
Which place is this?
It's right on Beverly Drive, or Beverly, yeah.
Is this Brooklyn Bagels?
Is it Brooklyn? Maybe Brooklyn Bagels.
Across from that coffee shop that everybody goes to, Earth Cafe?
Yeah, across from Phil's and across from Earth, right there. And it's got that huge sign outside. Yeah, they ship in their water from Brooklyn. It's like, go fuck yourself. Like, it's meaningless. Completely meaningless. You want to know why people think that the pizza's better in New York?
Why is that?
Is because they've been making it on these ovens for so many years that they've never cleaned, and it's like years and years and years of the accumulated like gook that is in there that gives it that special je ne sais quoi of New York style pizza.
Right.
And by the way, it's great. It is for what it is. Like, it's actually hard to get a better New York slice in LA compared to New York, but all the other styles, I'll take LA.
Huh.
Yeah.
You are amazing.
Thanks, man.
Are you going to do a podcast yourself? Are you going to do a TikTok yourself? Do you care about that?
I don't really care that much. I know that's what helps sell things and whatnot, but like, I don't.
You're an old school journalist.
I'm a journalist, man. I want to write. I want to sit at my computer and grind things out. I want to write books. I want to write articles. I want to,
And you're telling us that this 2-year-old and a partner, your partner doesn't care that you are this dedicated to your trade?
No, I think that's, she knows that this is what I do. And
did you win her over by cooking?
No.
Really?
No.
You took her out to restaurants and wooed her that way?
Yeah, because when we first started dating back in 2010, I was at the time I was co-running a startup, and I was eating nothing but takeout. And
but you weren't a good cook then?
I was okay, but I hadn't gone to cooking school yet. I hadn't, I went to cooking school in 2018.
So she got lucky that this was your
She
hobby.
happens to be a really good cook herself. So
okay.
We share in those responsibilities.
Do you have a real pizza oven?
I do. I actually have 3. I have 3. I have an indoor one and I have 2 outdoor ones. The one that I'm currently using that I love the most is an Uni. and it you can use gas, you can use charcoal, and you can use wood. And I've been really experimenting a lot with wood, and it's just the heat that the temperature, it gets up to like 900 degrees.
Yeah.
And it just makes the perfect pizza. It's so good.
So 900 degrees is the number. Just
Yeah.
like the chain.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the number.
Well, for Neapolitan style pizza, for like really thin, it only needs to cook in like less than 2 minutes, and so that temperature is what allows you to do that.
So once your fire is that hot,
Yeah.
and you cook the pizza,
Yeah.
can you squelch the fire really fast so that you don't waste all that beautiful wood?
The thing is, like, where you put the wood in it's not a big container, and so there's not that much wood that goes in at any one given time.
Oh.
So you're always constantly adding wood because it burns off pretty fast.
As you can tell, we're pretty close to Safi's over here.
Yeah.
And this guy has his wood going hours before.
He's
the
one of
restaurant.
LA's great chefs. Yeah. One of the all-time greats.
Ori?
Ori Minashi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, we can't park around here anymore
Yeah,
because he's so damn good.
He's an all-time great. Bavel, I think, people always say, what's your favorite restaurant in LA? And I don't have an answer. And people always say, what's the best restaurant in LA? It's hard for me to answer because I think about restaurants I think about dishes and like service. And there's no one place that is the best because that's a very subjective answer.
Yeah.
But if you put a gun to my head, I say Bavel.
Really?
Yeah. Gun to my head, I say Bavel.
You're like Hugh Hefner. It's like, who's the prettiest girl you met? He's like, well, blonde, redhead, American, Chinese, Japanese. Like, come on now.
It's a hell
They're
of
different.
It's a hell of a comparison.
Is the book out now?
So it's the perfect Christmas present. It comes out the first week of December.
They asked you to write on deadline.
Yes.
And it sounds like a very short deadline.
It was a pretty short deadline. They knew I was the right person for that job. Look, I've worked my ass off for years and years and years. I've published, thousands of pieces. And it was, that was in prep for something like this.
Well, it shows, man.
Thank you.
Because, I've been throwing you curveballs, and you're like, whatever. Gone. I gave you PG Palace.
Pija.
PG... Which maybe should be on your radar, but a man who loves pizza, of course it's going to be on your radar.
Yeah.
Especially a man who likes experimentation as much as you do, right?
At the end of the day, my favorite thing is about food and drinking for that matter, is that it brings people together. True. And that is what I love the most about the world that I get to work in.
He even knows this man, are you like Tom Cruise in Rain Man? Are you?
Well, I would have been...
should I drop a bunch of matchsticks?
I would be Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man, not Tom Cruise.
Look at him. Look at him go.
Right, so please-
Wapner, 3 o'clock. Wapner. Definitely Wapner.
Negroni, 3 o'clock. Negroni, 3 o'clock. So the coolest recipe that they have in here is actually is a frozen Negroni. Uh-huh. So they literally have like one of those frozen slushy machines, and they make a Negroni with it, and it's awesome. And it's in the book.
I would think that, you're not really a purist if
No.
you like experimentation.
No, I'm not a purist at all, actually.
So this is like almost an Iron Chef kind of a situation.
I don't know. I think there's something to say about, quote, authenticity, okay?
Yeah.
But authenticity, it's really, people, a lot of times they think they know what something is authentic, but it's not. Like the pizza example is the best example, right? Mm-hmm. So pizza was invented in Naples, but the tomatoes are from Peru, the buffalo mozzarella is from India, so on and so on. And the funniest part about authentic Neapolitan pizza is that to be considered authentic today is you have to use a specific kind of flour. It's called 00 refined flour, okay? Oh. And it's a very white, powdery, like super soft, powdery flour. And so to be authentic, you have to use that flour. Well, if the pizza was made in 1878,
yeah,
but 00 flour wasn't invented until like 50 years ago. So what are we talking about when we talk about authentic? It's like, guys, let's just drop all this shit. Let's pay homage to who the OGs were and who created things, and then let's mix it up and have some fun. Because as soon as we get too serious about all this stuff, and as soon as we say, well, that's not real or that's not the right thing, you start going down these rabbit holes and you realize none of it's the right thing. None of it's real. Noodles are Chinese. Ketchup is Chinese. Ramen is Chinese. Do you know why ramen is Japanese? Ramen's Japanese because after World War II, there was a rice famine and the U.S. imported all this wheat, and the only thing they knew how to make with wheat were noodles. And so the Chinese taught them how to make ramen. And by the way, the fortune cookie, not Chinese.
What?
It's Japanese. The reason it's Chinese is because during World War II, when all the Japanese were interned, the Chinese looked at that as an opportunity and they took over the fortune cookie trade. So like, don't give me like this shit about authentic unless you really know what you're talking about. And even then, you probably don't because the history will tell you something different.
I love it. Do you have a Twitter?
Yeah. So everything, you can find me everywhere at Mr. Paul Feinstein. It's not M-I-S-T-E-R though. It's Mr. M-R. So M-R Paul Feinstein on Twitter or X, on Threads. On Instagram is where I do most of my stuff. So go to Instagram to find me. Mr. Paul Feinstein. Yeah.
Who's this other Paul Feinstein that made you do the Mister?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think
Is he more famous than you?
No, but there's like a doctor or a lawyer, shockingly. His name is Paul Feinstein.
I know a couple guys. We'll take care of this problem.
Thanks.
Mr. Paul Feinstein, this has been an absolute blessing.
Really, thank you for having me. Great questions. Really fun. Yeah.
Ciao.
Ciao.
How great was Paul? You know who we'd have a big honkin' Chicago-style pizza with? Our Patreons. When you stoke us, you're saying, Tony, the next Negroni's on me. So shout out to our Patreons, Nancy Rommelman, Sean Atlow, Matt Mills, Sean Wallace, Greg and Molly, Jamie Taylor, Mark Johnson, Kira Ann, Barney Grinke, Ben Welsh, Jen Adams, Trevor Wilson, Bree Wild, Dougie Gyro, Christina Up North, Robin Carey, Adam Shorn, Ben from Down Under, Chris from the ATX, Gregor, and Phil. If you made it this far and you haven't been a Patreon yet, but you want to, add to the Christmas spirit, just go to patreon.com/hereinla and give till it hurts. Want to support us, but you're tapped out because of Hanukkah? Understood. You can still help. Post your favorite episode on your Facebook. OMG, post 2. It's Christmas, post 2! Post 2, for Pete's sake. Tweet something nice about us even. Anytime you see me tweet about an episode, retweet it. Who cares? And for God's sake, tell your friends. Tell them how Here in LA is spelled, and that it's on Apple Podcasts and Google and even Spotify. Let's look at our Twitter followers just yet. How many we got going here? We have 3,516 followers on Twitter. That blows my mind. Because it started with nothing. So that's really amazing and fantastic and very appreciative. Here in LA is produced by myself, Tony Pierce, can't you tell? Music supervision by Jordan Katz. Songs by Oregon and Jordan Katz. Special thanks to Cindy for creating the logo, Jen for inspiring this, and my man Miles Krakow, who recommended Paul. If you know somebody who's an expert at something like Paul is, or just a cool person that would be good on the mic, like Paul was, have them write me at busblog@gmail.com. Oh my God, you'll be so happy that you did. Happy holidays!